Welcome to Wellness Wonderland, your holistic wellness hub. Join us as we dive into the realms of alternative medicine, mindfulness, spirituality, and everything in between. I'm your host, Nicole Papageorge, and today we have Kasey Tench with us. Kasey is a speaker, a mentor, and a top leader in the holistic health and plant medicine industry. After a journey in healing herself through autoimmunity and grief while being a public educator, she was able to use her story to build a business and empowers others to do the same. I'm so excited to have her on today. Kasey, how are you?
Hello, Nicole. Thank you for having me. So excited, honored, and just grateful for the ask to be here.
Yes, I love this. We connected at the Beauty Boost event a couple weeks ago, and I know we'd connected previously on Instagram. The wellness community in Charlotte is larger than I thought, and it has some incredible people in it. And so I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm excited to dive into your story and share what you do with us. So let's get into that. Can you explain a little more about like what you have going on right now? Like what are you up to?
Okay, so right now, predominantly, I work with a company, Green Compass Global, which is a USDA organic hemp wellness company. We're stepping into the plant medicine space this summer. Share the healing powers of the hemp plant, bust through misconceptions because so many people think it's still legal weed or fake weed. All the things. People just don't understand the difference between hemp and marijuana. And I love educating about that. And just sharing that plant. I also do a ton of speaking engagements and like community classes. They do involve some CBD and hemp wellness education, but span out into empowerment and just various holistic ways to really heal the body because that's what my journey has been in.
Mm.
Um, I'm an educator at heart. So even though I stepped out of the classroom, I haven't stopped teaching people a minute since I left. And so a couple different things, sharing plants and empowerment.
I love that. Sharing plants and empowerment.
Yes.
So for the audience, if people don't know, can you briefly like break down the difference between hemp versus the psychoactive like marijuana plant? Because they're very, very different. And yeah, a
Okay.
little breakdown.
So again, high school teacher by trade. So I live for an analogy. I love to tell people that hemp and marijuana are sister plants and like scientifically they're cousins, but for the analogy, sisters just work better. So sister plants. Think the mother is the cannabis species, and we have these two sisters. Nicole, do you have a sister or a brother? Do you have any siblings?
I'm the only child.
Look at you. I have I have three siblings. And so I bring that up because whomever is listening to this, I want you to consider your sibling. Are you exactly the same? Probably not. You're
Yeah.
probably cringing at even the thought of people thinking you're exactly the same as your sibling. One of you has more components from one parent, one of you has more components from the other. Hemp and marijuana are very similar in that hemp has more CBD and less THC, while marijuana has more THC and less CBD. THC is what brings the psychoactive components, that's what gets people high. And it's why a lot of people enjoy marijuana for the party effects. And it's also why hemp is more well known for its wellness and balancing, because the cannabinoids that's what CBD stands for. The cannabinoids fill these receptors that we have in our bodies. I could go like total nerd mode if you want me to. But that's why hemp is known for wellness and marijuana is known for recreational use.
I love that. I love the analogy of siblings because it makes it make sense easier. It's more digestible for people. And yeah.
Yeah,
And
not the
hemp
same.
is incredible. I worked for a startup for a while in the hemp industry and I learned like a ton of stuff. And I think that's the plant that has like thousands of uses. Like truly, you can pretty much replace anything with hemp.
anything. There is hemp-based protein powder. There, clothes. I mean, so many people are turning hemp into clothing and just using it as a fabric. I
Building
put it
materials.
in building materials,
Yeah,
shoes, and I'm covered head to toe.
I love it. Just rub it on me.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you said that you kind of got into this space because of an autoimmunity that you had. So was that a self-healing journey for you, or what did that look like?
Yeah. So I started getting sick around 2015. And grief is a component. My dad passed away in 2013.
Mm.
And I think I have to speak of what led to the autoimmunity before I can really speak to what healed it. Um, I was just a mess, like with my lifestyle. Binge drinking was my favorite thing to do. Like I loved it. It's not like I was so sad I needed to binge drink my sadness. No, I loved it. Like enjoyed every minute of it. And like looking back, I can see that it was absolutely a coping mechanism, but through living it, like your girl just wanted to party.
Mm.
Um,
I hear that.
yeah, I just wanted to party and loved it. I loved being the life of the party. Like I couldn't get fucked up enough. So my dad died in 2013 and I really lacked the emotional processing skills to move through that. I mean, I was the only person that I knew, like in my circle, who had lost a parent at a young age. And so I didn't really have anyone to lean on in that way.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just drank more. I started taking different prescriptions. It was around the time that my anxiety was at its peak. And so I was on a ton of anxiety medications. I did start therapy and was diagnosed with depression. And now, I can see that I was grieving.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like depression gets thrown around for people who are grieving and moving through trauma. And instead of like offering tools for that, we offer prescriptions,
Mhm.
which further represses the emotion to me. I know that's like a bold stance, but
I agree with you. When you were telling your story, I feel like I have experiences where it's like you go to the doctor for a reason and they just are so quick to give you a prescription without even having a conversation about the side effects of it, the long-term effects of it, if there are alternatives to things, like that's never discussed. So a
yeah,
safe space to to speak your truth here because I fully agree.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, alcohol, prescriptions, and just a crap lifestyle. I mean, I love Taco Bell. That was my favorite. um, could not eat enough cheese. Like, and no, I still eat cheese, but not in the way that I was.
In moderation. Yeah.
Um, just a ton of fried food, like born and raised in the South. And so I already feel like the diet that I was raised on is would make people cringe in the health space, but it's what was normal for my family and I. And so like that's what I was eating because I just didn't
Yeah.
know better. And so all of this kind of like bubbled up and created a perfect storm for autoimmunity and illness. And so I got my first diagnosis in 2015, my second in 2016. I got three and four in 2017. Um, and then I got my fifth one in 2020. And so what was going on during this time is I was seeking, Western perspective and help and treatment. And my doctors just kept adding on more prescriptions.
Mm.
Um, and not necessarily validating what I was going through, but they would be like, oh, it's such and such diagnosis.
Yeah.
And kind of normalize it instead of seeing the 24, 25, 26, 27 year old in front of them losing their mobility, being in chronic pain 24/7, not being able to eat and digest food. Like I know the food I was putting in my body to digest, my body was rejecting it. But at the time, no one broke that down for me. No one was like, Kasey, you're eating fucking shit and your
Yeah,
body doesn't want it. But instead, it was just like, well, maybe this prescription will help your body digest this shitty ass food. And
exactly. Instead of teaching you what you should be eating to nourish your body. Yeah.
yes, at no point did anybody bring up or question the amount of alcohol I was drinking. And so, not to shift blame at all, I do take full ownership of it, but I was very uneducated. Um, and once I became educated, I completely transformed my life. And
Mm.
so, that education piece is huge. But it really all started 2018. I was 28. My doctor told me, he said, you're going to be immobile by 30. So in 2 years, he said, you're going
Wow.
to be immobile. I couldn't move my shoulders. I couldn't move my knees. Um, and my knee pain is like the last thing that I've been working through. It still pops up sometimes. But in the thick of it, like I could not move anything. And so I hear my doctor say this, and I was just like, not impossible. What do you mean? I'm going to be immobile by 30? No, I do not accept that. Um, I remember getting on Pinterest and typing herbs to heal the body. It's like
Wow.
I knew there were people out there.
There had to be another way. Like,
I knew there were people that existed that like loved herbs. I just didn't know anyone,
yeah.
and I didn't have access to them. So I got on Pinterest because that's where the best recipes come from. So I was like, there's got to be some herbal recipes.
Yes.
So I Pinterested herbs that help people heal, and that was the first experience. I
Wow.
read online that there's this career that exists called naturopathic doctors. And I Googled naturopathic doctors in my area. There was one that 7 minutes from my house. I made an appointment with her. I went to see her. She immediately took gluten away from me. Like our first meeting, she was like, "You're done with gluten." And I was like, "Oh no, this is
No.
yeah, I'm gonna go back to my other doctor." But working with her and just the different protocols that she put me on, that was when the healing began. Um, that was when each diagnosis started working towards remission.
Wow.
I also began studying herbalism in an intense way. And I bought an alkaline water machine. That was like a huge investment, but um, from what I had read of how just improving the alkalinity in your life and your diet, it was worth it for me. And so that was another big step. And then I had a girlfriend reach out to me and ask me if I'd heard of CBD. I was a pot smoker, so I was like, I don't need that shit. And she was like, Kasey, let me educate you. And we went to college together. She was a doll baby of a human. And so I thought I was doing her a favor by saying, okay, I'll let you educate me. And she taught me how CBD and the hemp plant works differently in the body than THC and marijuana. And it blew my freaking mind.
Mm.
Um, and so that was when I started a CBD routine. So this was all 2018.
Wow.
And it was not immediate, as you know, anyone who starts a healing journey, like I'm still on it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is not a linear process. It is up and down and spirally. And when you think you've processed something, it comes back around.
Never.
But it's a
Uh,
beautiful journey.
but by 2020, I was off 7 medications. I was
Mm.
off all seven. I stopped each of them, and this was from SSRIs to benzos, to like the various medications for my joints and autoimmunity. I was able to come off of everything by 2020, and
That is
so
amazing.
yeah, truly. Um,
Wow.
So 2 years of diet and lifestyle changes, supplementing with CBD, my water, and whatever supplements my naturopath told me to take. I was like, yes, ma'am. Um,
Anything you tell me, I'm here.
kiss your feet. Will that heal me?
Seriously.
I did everything she said because I trusted her. She was the first person to validate
Yeah.
everything. She was the first person who looked at me and said, "This is not normal." And I think that's such a cop out, like the Western route when they try to validate you by saying, "Well, this is actually very normal for people."
Yes. But
No,
it's
it's
not normal for me. Thank you so much for telling your story. I resonate so hard with a lot of that. Like, this is how we connected. Her and I have a very similar past where I used to party my ass off. I was the life of the party. I also loved drinking. I loved it. I loved getting up and dancing on the bar tables and like just starting the life of the party at the bar, starting the wave. Like that was me. I
all
was that girl and it was so much fun.
so much. It was nothing to catch me on top of the bar.
It was not
Okay.
yeah, it was just a Wednesday night, like whatever.
Average
We are
Tuesday, and like y'all are gonna get up here on the bar with me.
exactly. Life of the party and when you're in those moments, you're not really realizing the effects they have. Like when I was in college, I would have the 99-cent Jack in the Box tacos like all the time because that's what I could afford and they were so good, but like so fried and greasy and filled with I don't even know the substance I was eating, to be honest. But in that moment, it was delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I would take Adderall during the day because I was on Adderall forever.
Yeah.
And I would smoke weed to help me relax at night to turn my brain off from the Adderall. And then in between, I was drinking any chance I could get because life is a party. And my body started having really strange reactions. They went undiagnosed. Like I went to different neuro doctors. I went and got my heart checked out. I was having random blackouts
Oh
like
man.
unassociated from the drinking. I would be like day to day and I would randomly just like black out, pass out, faint out of nowhere. Like I would get really dizzy and they were like, "Oh, you're epileptic." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not having convulsive seizures." And they're like, "We don't necessarily have to, but here, just take this."
Mm-mm.
And they put me on this like crazy high dose. I don't even remember what it was, but I started taking it and it literally made my body numb. I was like numbing out. And then I went to the doctor, like, well, that's a weird reaction. I don't know. I'm like, well, I'm just going to not take it then. Like, I'm just going to take myself off of this.
Right.
And I to this day, I don't have a diagnosis as to what it was, but I have noticed this is the first year I'm consciously choosing not to drink alcohol.
Mhm.
And my body has shifted in some insane ways, like inflammation, bloating around my belly that I could never get rid of is like gone. And it's just from what I was putting in my body.
That's
And it's a beautiful story to hear you say, like, diet, lifestyle changes, cutting specific things out, like gluten. You're like, don't take gluten away from me. But then there's different alternatives that we have now. And by just choosing those they're not small because 'cause they're hard because it's like in your day to day, it's what you're used to, it's what you've grown up on, it's what you know, but it's those small little shifts that when you can consciously make those tiny choices over time have the most massive effect on your health, and you yourself are an example of that.
yeah. Well, anyone who's in the healing space, we hear like get to the root, and managing through inflammatory and stress responses. Gluten causes an inflammatory response in my body. Gluten is stress in my body. And so, just like I would not be in a conversation with a stressful person by choice, like I don't wake up and think, oh, I want to call so and so they can stress me the fuck out today. Like, why do I wake up and crave something that has gluten in it? Because it's gonna stress my body the fuck out to consume.
Mm. I love that you were saying, like, you wouldn't just call someone on the phone that's gonna stress you out. Because why would you put yourself in that state of stress when you could choose not to do that? When we can tune into those shifts in the body and think of them as those conscious choices of like, I'm already in a crazy stressed out place. I don't really feel like talking to this friend that's going to put me in an even more crazy place. Think of that as the bread or the food or the alcohol or whatever it may be that's showing up. But it can be a conscious choice. And like that's where the major, major shifts come into play. And you don't even need a doctor to tell you that.
You don't. And I think it gives you the power back. Chronic illness can be so disempowering. You feel like you're not even in control in your own body. And how defeating is that?
Yeah.
And one way that I've realized that I can regain and call my power back is by making those conscious choices. And then with alcohol, I just had my like 1 year marker of not consuming any alcohol. That was like one of the things that we
Wow.
connected over.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the coolest part about it is I haven't missed it. I haven't wanted it. I don't at all. Like when I get stressed, it used to be like, oh, I need a beer.
Mm.
Or like I loved a fireball shot. And now my girlfriend the other day, she's pregnant and she was like, Kasey, I had the weirdest craving for a fireball shot. I was like, you're maniacal, dude.
The thought of even like pouring that down my throat right now. Ugh.
No, thank you. Like zero parts of me want that. And I think, it's a testament to the healing that I've done of like all the processed and like unprocessed emotions and stuff that have like come to the surface. But also me knowing like I'm in this conscious relationship with my body. Why would I consume something that is so taxing on my system?
Mm.
Um, and, just the one thing that was expansive for me and for anyone who's listening that's also like in a space of healing is understanding the different stresses that we can feel. Like, yes, mental stress. I think that's what most people think about when we say, well, are you stressed right now? And they think about their work and their relationships and money and all those things.
All the
That's
things.
not all stress is. We hold physical stress to exercising is good stress, but it's stress and you can
Yeah.
over stress through exercise. But then that's what we consume too is physical stress. And I think just exploring that has been a powerful avenue for me.
I agree. And I feel like a lot of it's habitual or it's like societal. Like right now, I'm consciously choosing not to drink, but when I go out in an environment where the old version of me would drink, everyone
Mhm.
around me is drinking, everyone's got something in their hand. And it's like, I don't want to say awkward, but you feel kind of awkward because you're just like standing there and everyone else has like something and they're sipping and they're dancing and you're just kind of like, what do I do with my hands? Like,
Yeah,
so,
I love a mocktail.
yes.
I have a daily routine of consuming collagen. And my collagen recipe is like mocktail, very mocktail-esque. And I can choose whether I want it in the morning or in the evening. And I just make it cute and yummy. But like at social events like that, the muscle memory kicks on and it's like, put something in my hand.
Yes.
And it is a funny experience, like looking around at everybody partying around you, and you're like, if I were partying, I would be on that table shaking my ass in this way.
But we don't
But
do that now.
and like I don't want to. I
I
just
don't
know
want to. Yeah.
I don't want to, but I know if I were, that's what I would be
That's
doing.
where we would be. Do you have any upcoming events or anything in the Charlotte area that you want to share?
Yes. So I've recently partnered with Beauty Boost where we first connected at. There's two events coming up. The first is the Hippy Dippy in June. It's June 20th. I don't have the time written down, but everything Beauty Boost offers is so cool.
I love it.
I mean, so cool. It's trendy too, like aesthetic. Like
I know
everybody
they do a great job, and Julie is the best. I have to have her
so
on.
she's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, but I will be doing a workshop and like some education about CBD and the hemp plant itself. So if there's anybody here who would really like to appreciate like nerding out on the plant, then I'll be teaching there. But then on August 19th, I'm also doing a women in business workshop as well. And this is also with Beauty Boost. So if you're following Beauty Boost, you will appreciate learning everything that they share.
That's awesome. And where can they find you? So if they want to learn more, get in touch with you, can you drop your social or website or anything that people can find you on?
Yes, so Instagram is the absolute best place to stay connected with me at. My name on Instagram is at Kasey__T. It is Kasey with a K. Okay. But that's the best place that we can connect at.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm so excited you were on. We were able to talk. And big thanks for tuning into Wellness Wonderland. If any of this resonates, join the community by clicking that subscribe button and connect on social at Wellness Wonderland Collective for inspiration and insights on what's going on in the community. Until next time, stay curious, stay well, and lead with love in all you do.